What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we're going to be reviewing Daniel Jeremiah's brand new top 50 big board for the 2025 NFL Draft. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Below my face is my board. It is not predictive. These are just the players that I love. I back it up on X with all 22 clips. Feel free to follow me over there or support me by being able to use code UnderDog, or code UnderDog, that'd be crazy. Code HAILMARY when you sign up for UnderDog, and you get up to $1,000 in bonus credits when you sign up. They send me 60. I'm going to be that full transparency, but it's also a site that I love to use. But I'm excited to do this. I've been doing a lot of team-based mock drafts, and I'm still doing all 32 within the next 2 days, so stay tuned for that. Well, actually, they're pretty much all already up, so I'm excited for that as well. But I want to give you guys a little bit of a curveball here as well. And so let's go through it. 1-2-50. Abdul Carter's is number 1. I respect it. He's my number 2 at the moment. I do think he's limited as a run defender, but at the same time, pass rush low-key is king in the NFL nowadays. So that's why I ended up giving him my DPR grade. If it's just a full edge grade, I think he'd be sitting right there at 10. At number 2, we got Travis Hunter. I love Travis Hunter. He's sitting at 10 on my board, but that's because I grade solely off of my all-22 grade. And technically speaking, if he did like 2 or 3 points better or 2.5 points better, he would be my number 3 player. So it's a very tight race there in that blue range. It is pretty close. It's not very close at the top, but it's very close in that mid range right there. Travis Hunter is fantastic. I just think that, he's not the best cornerback in the class to me. A lot of people say that he is. And again, with injury concerns, he's the best healthy corner in the class by a good margin. And then you talk about wide receiver wise, he's definitely one of the best, but I have my top 30 receiver video out that breaks down what I think there as well. But Travis Hunter is a great player. Not going to shame it at all. I'm the one who's in the minority. So I'm going to be the one saying that I will give DJ much more credit than myself, as I always will, because I do think that I'm still a student of the game. DJ is far less of a student of the game, but I mean, I guess we all are. Learning every single year. All these guys have so many different factors. But Ashton Jeanty is the number 3 overall player. I love Ashton Jeanty. He's my number 9. He's just insane. As long as he gets over his fumbling issue, I think that he's going to be a lot better. So, 9 times over the past 2 seasons. That's kind of the issue that I have with him. I have him comped to a steroided up Devin Singletary. Mason Grahams is the number 4 overall player. When coming 24 pounds underneath, I just do have my concerns there. He's been and is going to remain my number 16 overall player. He's a good block shedder. I don't think he holds his ground well, and I think his weight is a big issue with that. You got Tyler Warren as a number 5 player, and I love Tyler Warren. And Tyler Warren's my number 22 guy at the moment. I think that he's a little bit limited in terms of straight line speed. I really wish we could have seen like a top speed from him, but I mean, this guy is just rock solid. I mean, for most teams, he deserves to be a top 5 player on their board. I think holistically, if you're just trying to say like, oh, if I don't need a tight end, should I evaluate Tyler Warren as like the 5th best player in the class? I would say no. I would not take him over other options. But Tyler Warren is a fantastic player. He's just the definition of solid. He will probably be a top 5 to 10 tight end in his career. Or right out the gate, I mean. Colson Loveland's the number 6 player. Ooh. This is a live reaction, by the way. But, Colson Loveland's a good player. He was able to at least be semi-productive in a very unproductive offense. I have my doubts on Colson Loveland, but still, I think he's a very good player. I still think he's an instant starter in the NFL, and I still think he's a top 20 tight end coming in. So if that to you would be ranked number 6, if I ended up boosting my tight end value by 2 each, I would have them pretty close to this. So, I'm saying it's understandable. Jalen Walker is at number 7. Jalen Walker is a player who I love, but I actually love him as a linebacker more. But I do like him as an edge rusher as well. He would have ended up being a top 40 player for me as an edge, and he ended up being a top 20 player as a linebacker. So, big fan of Jalen Walker here. I think that there's going to be a lot of, combine anti-fatigue, combine hype, and because he didn't perform and he tested out with short arms at 32 inches, I do think that there's going to be the chance that he ends up, losing the popular opinion, but maybe not after some time it's going to be a little bit until he's actually also, I think, doing a workout right before the draft. So maybe you can even pick up some hype there, but I think the negativity for him not performing is going to wane off and people are going to get back on the hype train. Johnny Barron, someone that, I mean, I respect it a ton. He's at number 8 overall on his board, on DJ's board. For me, I haven't updated all the guys' grades yet, so Jade will be jumping into the top 40 for me, and he's like right there at 40, so he'll be jumping into the top 32, if not higher as well. He tested out phenomenally well, so shout out to him. Really good zone instincts there. He is a Swiss Army knife. I think that the arm length is a legitimate concern. The height is a legitimate concern. But again, talk about Brian Branch. There is that vision for him as well. At number 9, Will Campbell. I'm not the biggest Will Campbell guy. I think he is a very unique player, and I think he has to be a tackle. You look at his stance, the guy has trouble. And Steve Mensch, I think is his name. I know it's Mensch. The last name's Mensch, who ends up doing a podcast with, oh my God, Todd McShay. Man, names are slipping my mind today. But he ended up saying that Will Campbell scares the shit out of him. That's his quote. And it's true. I mean, he has an issue sitting down and getting low. His stance is not conducive for a guard. And there was a play where he had to kick into a guard. It did not look pretty. So I do have my worries with Will Campbell there. I think his spatial awareness is not great. His high level tape's incredible, but when you look at the short arms, the fact that he has been long armed by quite a few edge rushers, it is something I legitimately worry about at the next level. Cam Ward's the number 10 prospect on DJ's board. I'm going back through and regrading all the quarterbacks, so TBD on that, but I don't have a first round grade on the quarterbacks. At number 11, we got Armand Membu taking a big jump, tested athletically through the roof. I still think there's a lot of technique he needs to work on, but the ceiling is sky high. If you're going for someone with potential, Armand Membu is going to be your dude. He's a very good player, and right tackle is becoming more and more valuable, so it's good to see that people still love that position. Jahad Campbell's at number 12. Big fan of Jahad Campbell. I mean, he had to be moved to linebacker. There we go. Because Crimson's tied at depth on the edge rushing group. So you got Will Anderson, Dallas Turner, Chris Braswell, etc. I mean, LT Overton ended up coming over this year as well. So you just look at that, and it's it makes sense. But Jahad Campbell literally was recruited as an edge rusher, number 1 edge rusher in his class. I think he's going to be better as an edge rusher than off-ball linebacker, but I still think that he's going to be insane. So I'm a big fan of him. He's number 19 on my board. There's a lot that you do have to worry about. And again, when I say they're number 19 on my board, that includes 1, 2, technically 3 guys that have season-ending injuries who could have all fallen outside of that. So I just want to keep that out there, even though I would just say 2 of them. Simmons, one of them, Ben Morrison with the 2 hip surgeries scares the shit out of me. Josh Simmons, I still think he's going to be coming back fine. And Will Johnson, it's kind of hard for me to drop him 20 points to where he would end up, being outside of my top 30 or top 40. So Will Johnson to me is one of my favorite players that I've ever studied. He's not super athletic, but who cares? He moves well for his size. So he doesn't have the recovery speed. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Look at this guy. He is a true corner 1. He's built like a corner 1. I think he is nearly a perfect player. But the shorter arms did bug me a little bit. I wanted him to have a little bit longer arms. I think he had sub 31. So that is a bit buggy, but we'll see what happens with him in the NFL. Amari Hampton at number 14. Again, this is a live reaction, so it's good to see that. Amari Hampton's a stud. I'm just so glad to see that more and more people are starting to love Amari Hampton more and more. He ended up running in the 4.4s. He tested out very, very well. He's a player who I'm gonna stick. I'm gonna stick my flag down and say that he's my RB1. Mainly because again, Ashton Jeanty, if he didn't fumble 9 times over the past 2 years, would be clearly above him. But I digress. Matt Golden raising up to rank 15. Incredible performance at the combine. He can churn and burn, baby. And so I do think he could be the first wide receiver off the board. And it was his number 1 receiver because Tet is here at number 16. Ted is a great player. I have him at number 18 overall on my board. I comped him to a giraffe with hands. Legitimately, he is kind of going to be a little bit more Drake London-y. So I get that. I do worry about his arm length for, it's not it's bad, right? It's sub 32. But, for someone like Tetro McMillan that is known for the physicality aspect and the contested catches, you would kind of hope that he'd have 33, 34 inch arms. But he does not. We'll see what happens in the NFL with him, but he does have a bust factor to him. Emeka Ibuka is just a definition of consistency. Got to show love to Emeka here. He's a very solid player. I have no complaints about him being in the top 20 for anybody's board. He's a reliable player. Shedeur Sanders at number 18. Again, I don't have a first round grade on quarterbacks in this class. I'm going through them just to confirm that. Again, it'll be my third time going through the entire quarterback class. But, sometimes you just got to do it. When everybody else is saying something else besides you, I got to end up doing some self-evaluation. Nick Eamon at 19 is beautiful. Eamon I'm still updating the grades on my defensive back. So my preseason grade on Nick Eamon was the number 31 player in the entire class. So safe to say, because he did even better this year, he might end up being a top 10 player for me. We'll see what happens when all is said and done. Michael Williams, number 20 overall. Michael is a very good player. He is. He's right there outside. He's at number 33 on my board. He's a high ceiling player. The injury is what made him struggle this year more than the ability. And I've been someone who has always said that I've worried about his ability more than anything. Mike Green drops to 21 on his board. Mike Green is, I believe, in the 60 range for me right now. But he is somebody who has a lot of explosiveness. He showed a lot of improvement throughout the year. I will say, kind of felt very similar to One Trick Pony, which is I have short arms. I'm going to speed the power into your chest and then end up, making a counter move off of that, which is, it's a good foundation to have. But I just do have my concerns with Mike Green, especially with the arm length and all that. So we'll see. Obviously, there's some off the field questions as well. Then you got James Pierce here at 22. I love James Pierce on the field. I do. And ultimately, that is what matters, right? Like, Antonio Brown was kind of a nut job after the Vontaze Burfict hit, but the dude was still rock solid on the field until his talent didn't outweigh his personality. And I ended up posting about this yesterday, and it got some people's feathers ruffled, and I understand. Not everybody's going to be a good interviewer. He ended up talking to Ian Rappaport and Tom Pelissero, and his answers did not fit what the question was asking, to the point where he started bringing up random facts that felt unbelievably scripted and not even close to actually answering the question through an audit. I felt like I was listening to someone lie, and it felt uncomfortable. Not as in oh, this guy's just has a hard time speaking. Some guys just do. I'm not going to blame Jamal Charles for not saying Kingsley Suamatae's name right. He has a speech impediment. That doesn't make me not trust him. And yes, overanalysis, maybe. But if you're sitting at the head of a multi-billion-dollar organization, and this is your most valuable asset in the draft in terms of your first-round pick, you do need to factor in, what is this dude going to be like in the locker room? People said, apparently, again, I wasn't in the Tennessee locker room, and something I do think, both sides of the argument have legitimately big issues discussing, is the validity of in-locker room claims, right? Now, I don't have a perfect article to go to, but I do know he got a snap count cut. I have heard from multiple different people that this guy was a nut job going back to high school. I have heard from many people that he wasn't a good teammate at Tennessee. I don't know it personally, but I have no way of knowing it. So all I can do is just say, hey, this is what I heard. And then I see this interview and it feels extremely stiff, extremely uncomfortable, and extremely scripted, to where it's you're not being you. And it's not oh, I'm trying to sound better. No, it felt fake as fuck. I don't like saying that about players. I don't. And y'all know my love for James Pierce. I have him as my Edge 1 in my most recent Edge video. This is a guy who I hitch my wagon to. But there is something off. There's just something off. And I don't know. It's just a sixth sense. And I'm praying to God it's wrong. And I'm praying to God that my eyes were better than my gut for evaluating him. But there's a reason. If you're sitting in a room and you feel uncomfortable with this guy, you're not going to spend your most valuable asset on him. Even if he's a great football player, there's some issues. Football is it's a team sport. Chemistry matters. It's not just, oh, good football player, he's going to do well. You have a whole entire team. It does matter. 23, Booker. He just tested out worse athletically than what most people were hoping for, but this dude's a definition of reliability. I have no worries about it at all. Gray Zabel at 24. You guys see exactly what I think of him. Gray Zabel's an absolute super stud. I don't like small school players. That's just me. Not a big small school guy. And Gray Zabel made me a fan. In his most challenging game this year, which I think was the first week versus Colorado, he had arguably his best game. And that's sick. And then he goes to Mobile, and he is the best player there. So I'm a huge fan of him. At number 25, you got Malachi Starks moving back up. I love Malachi Starks. He just got the short end of the stick because, well, first off, he ended up testing in the 4.4s, which is awesome, right? Like, I was worried that he's going to be running 4.55, right? And I think he might have ran 4.5 flat, but he did not run 4.55 or slower, which is huge because I think the biggest issue with him has come down to him being in the slot. I don't think he's going to play very well in the slot. I saw him in 2023 versus Isaiah Bond. Did not do well in the slot. And then you see this year versus Golden, you don't see him do well in the slot. But the moment you put him in space as a deep safety, he ends up thriving. And I do think he's going to, especially in the right system, be unbelievably solid. And he's going to be a really good starter. Derek Harmon at 26 is awesome. I just have him lower because I have a little bit less excitement for him. But Derek Harmon, I've been following this dude since his first year at Michigan State, and it's just so good to see him get the love that he deserves, man. But I mean, I'm just not fully sold on him as a first, but I am a fan of him overall. You got Shedeur Sanders here at 27. I mean, he's just the definition of insanity in terms of athleticism. The question is, how much does athleticism truly matter in the NFL over the ability to actually rush the passer? I thought that the one thing that makes me far more encouraged is seeing how much more polished he looked at the Senior Bowl than he did in the regular year. And in the normal season, regular season, he did not look good. The people who glaze him, I think it's insane. I really do. I really think that it's complete BS and that people genuinely have issues when it comes to overvaluing players they love. I mean, I do too. I get it. But with Shedeur Sanders, there's nothing on the field that really showed oh my God, on a consistent basis, this guy's balling the fuck out. But what I will give you credit for is that over this offseason, where he dropped a little bit of weight as well, he looked so much more polished at the Senior Bowl. Not polished, much more polished. And for me, I'm a believer in the trend more than the state where they're at. And I think Shedeur Sanders has a bright future with the right DC, but I do think there's a massive bust factor there. KG is at 28. I do have my worries about KG as well. But I mean, if he ends up working out, you're getting Dexter Lawrence. That's the ceiling. And sometimes you have to take the swing on that. Kelvin Banks is at 29. Crazy to see him slipping this much, but I mean, he ended up testing out athletically better than I gave him credit for. He is right now a day 2 prospect for me, and he has always been. So I do think he'll still stay there, but maybe I'll boost him up just a little bit because of how well he tested. Donovan Ezeraku at 30. Good to see it. I mean, he's the definition of he's like, as my buddy likes to say, he's a double in baseball. It's not going to blow your mind up, and be like, holy shit. But if you just want someone to be rock solid, you think about the Eagles, you just need somebody to be rock solid and consistent. This is your guy. And good production, good agility drills. I do still think that the true athleticism in terms of he technically did some good explosiveness with his 35.5-inch vert, but outside of that, I still have my issues with him off the line in overall athleticism. Luther Burden's at 31. I mean, just had a bad year. I love seeing how well he tested, though. He did test much better than on the field suggested, and that shows good work ethic off the field. I do still worry about on the field. The dude takes off a lot of reps. That's my biggest issue. At number 32, you got Max Hairston here. I will just say, look this up for yourself. There is a report from March 21st, 2020, or March 25th, 2021, that is very, very indicting on Max Hairston, and it's still open. So there's a lot of content out there about it. I'm not going to be the one who continues talking about it. Of all the players, this is the most damning of the information that I've seen. So, skill-wise, Hairston, sure, I could see it. But off the field, there's some big questions there. Trey Henderson's at 33, home run hitter, good player. I mean, I'm not fully sold on Trey Henderson as the do-it-all guy that I think people want him to be. I want to give him maybe 8 touches a game, maybe 9, and that's a good spot to be in. But that's not what I would do with my number 33 pick. If I'm drafting a running back at 33, I want you to have the ability to carry the ball 20 times. The ability to. Maybe not the actual workload of 20, but I need you to be 20 touch capable. With Henderson, I see him as much more of that 8 to 12 touch guy. And that's not a 33 overall player for me. Walter Nolan slips to 34. Very intriguing. You know, he's a good player. I have some issues with his tape from this past year, but I, again, thought he did really well in Mobile. So I am always a believer in the curve, not necessarily the exact spot, even though where I usually have the majority of my grade is the spot, I always have it factor for the curve. So, I mean, I see it. I mean, it's a good spot for him to be in. I don't think he's as polished as what people think. But Josh Simmons at 35, you know, again, the injury is going to be the real question. But if he's fully healthy, there's no reason for him to be at 35. He should be much closer to 5 than 35. That's just the big question. Quinshon Judkins at 36, very good spot for him to be in. Again, one of those players that I could end up seeing with a 20 touch capacity in the NFL. So that's why I feel comfortable with him there. Mason Taylor at 37. You know, he's a good player. Just don't watch the Texas A&M game because it would make you think that he's damn near a like a UDFA. It was a really bad game. I don't know what the hell happened there, but you know, I have a tight end video out on it. You can feel free to check it out. Josh Connerly being at 38. Again, I have my issues with Josh Connerly. I still have him at 14 overall. I just have the issue with his initial anchor. I think his re-anchor is really, really solid, and I think he gets better as the game goes on. But like, he's the perfect archetype to not thrive well in Senior Bowl one-on-ones. And I think people have a bad taste in their mouth because of that. But I do think Connerly is a much better athlete than people are trying to give him credit for. So I'll just say that I have some faith in Josh Connerly. Gonna leave it there. Donovan Jackson slipping 7 spots is very intriguing. I don't understand. He's best suited for guard, but he stepped up to play left tackle. I do agree with that. I'm just curious. He had a couple of tough reps versus Abdul Carter. Well, I mean, to be fair, that's his first game as a tackle, DJ. I mean, no wonder he's going to have some issues versus Abdul Carter. You're talking about your number one player going up against a guard taking his first reps at tackle. I'll just say, I feel like this is a bit harsh, but I really love Donovan Jackson, so I'm a little bit biased. Jackson Dart's at 40. I'm not the biggest Jackson Dart guy again. TBD on the quarterback class. I'm going through it again. I have, through multiple times of studying Dart, I just haven't seen it. Trey Amos, good to see him move up to 41. I love Trey Amos, man. He's a rock solid corner, really good at the catch point. I arguably would comp him to, I think he tested out better than him as well, Tyson Campbell. So really, really good player. Azareye'h Thomas, speaking of a guy in Florida, Azareye'h is a stud too. I do have my issues with him accelerating out of his break. That's his only issue to me. And it's just something that I do think could pop up and be a lot more of an issue than what people think. Josh Farmer at 43. I love Josh Farmer, love his family, but it's just this guy's a late day 2, early day 3 pick for me, and much more focused on the day 3 part. So, really good build, but he didn't even test the way that I was kind of hoping for him to. Ben Morrison at 44. It really is those 2 hip surgeries that I worry about. Fingers crossed that, one in high school, one this past year. Hoping that doesn't end up being something that actually hampers him, but he is a very, very good player. Again, pre-injury, my number 3 overall guy. Elijah Arroyo at 45, vertical threat. Wish that he was healthy so we could have seen a true 40 time, but we'll see at his pro day. Dominated at the Senior Bowl. Carson Schwezinger drops a couple spots here to 46, but he's a good player. He's in my top 75. Very, very good, fluid player. Added a lot of weight though. That's why I'm a little bit worried about him not testing in the 40. He ended up adding, I think, 15 or 20 pounds. So I really do want to see what his actual mobility is at a larger size. Landon Jackson's at 47, tested through the roof. And, 6'6", 264, good build. I think he overcomplicates the game. He's the definition of an edge 3 to me. It's like he's better than what I initially graded him, which is a good sign, but again, not every one of these players can be a superstar. Caleb Johnson drops 1 to 48. I'm not the biggest Caleb Johnson guy. That's just me personally. But, I still think he's a good back who's young, who has a lot of tread on his tires, while also showing that he has a good workload. Darius Alexander moves up 1 spot. He's just a bit older. That's the only issue. He's a 6-year senior. But, I still think talent-wise, he is up there with the best in the class. And then last but not least, we got friend of the show, Marcus Bowe. That is awesome to see. He is... I think with 32-inch arms, he's going to have to probably move to the inside. So I'm curious to see how that goes. But hand fighting ability is awesome. The physicality is awesome. Personality is awesome as well. Good dude there. So that is going to be it. Apparently, Savon Revel ends up slipping out. Jack Sawyer does as well, and Charles Grant does. Jack Sawyer, 31-inch arms, a little bit over that. But Charles Grant, I don't see it personally, and I love project tackles. And Savon Revel, again, just a question on the injury. So that's going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching. Love you. See you on the far side. Peace.